Hello, my name is Tim, and I've been coaching for 8 years now. And I'm doing a short series with a student of mine by the name of Nick. And the goal is we're going to be getting him up from NL25 to NL50. And a lot of the work Nick and I have done, in sessions, behind the scenes. The videos are going to be a bit more relaxed, so we're going to be looking at some sweat sessions and some hand history review. And some of the theory we're talking about, we're not going to go too in depth on that in terms of having a classroom session for a video. But if any of the topics come up that we don't go in depth on, I'm more than happy to talk about those in comments or on a forum or wherever. If anyone has any questions, but we're trying to make this entertaining as well as informative and helpful. So we're going to start off with a little sweat session at NL25 and take it from there. I hope you guys enjoy.
So there's 6-8 on this board down here. Now I'm obviously going to fold. If it checked, I might use this just to bet because obviously he's playing a lot of hands, so he's going to have a lot of trash that he just folds here.
Yeah, sure.
But given that he bet, I'm happy just to say nice hand and give it up.
Yeah, I would say also it's a little bit strange that I know it's a small hand sample, but it's a little bit strange that he would limp in.
We'll see what happens here. Sometimes this is Hold'em Manager, sometimes this is PKR.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be TeamViewer. There we go, we're back, maybe. Maybe not. I think great if we won. Oh, we might. No, we didn't. I think we might have chopped though. Sevens I'm happy to give up with. This board texture out of position. I mean, I find these sort of textures, even if their fold to C bet is quite high, they tend to have just so many hands which kind of connect with this board. They don't fold, so any pair doesn't fold. A 10, an ace.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're betting the sevens, you're essentially having to turn it into a bluff over multiple streets, which is fairly unnecessary. When a lot of the time he's going to let you get to showdown anyway.
Exactly.
And the rest of the time he's going to do something we don't want him to do, like just jam king 10.
If I was to choose a bluff, it would be this hand. I think even now I can just go ahead and fold, to be honest, against this.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I don't really want to 3-bet ace queen, get 4-bet. Now
I mean, sixes.
Well, I figured that, I mean, he could just be doing this with anything, really.
Sure. You just have to decide if you're earning more by bet folding the turn or bluff catching the river.
This ace-9 is whether I begin bloating the pot now or not. And I don't mind doing either. I think checking's fine, betting or raising is fine as well. What would you do in this spot?
I would be checking out of position to two people with a VPIP over 60. I don't really fancy my chances of missing and then bluffing off from multiple streets. So we may as well get there first. The ace queen.
Well, I was debating whether to bet or check now on the turn.
Yeah,
I think I'm just going to bet because, I mean, he seems loose enough that he can just have like any queen and continue here. And there's no need to give him free cards, and I'm sitting out over here. Whoops. It's ace-9 suited. Typically, I'd be happy to continue here, but considering he isn't likely to begin folding too often, I am okay just to give up.
Yeah, I agree. We would just want to check fold there. And the ace queen, I would be happy to bet the turn.
King queen, after I check the flop, this guy doesn't like folding too much, so I'm not going to begin making loads of bluffs against him. However, we do pick up quite a bit of equity. It's a board I would have checked a lot on the flop. So if I do double barrel, I think I can double barrel now.
Sure. I just had a little glance at his stats there. I mean, his 1-1 flop is actually quite low, which is kind of surprising for someone playing 18-14.
18-14, and he doesn't fold too much either. He's, I would say he's a big candidate for bluff catching.
Okay. Although I agree that could be true. I don't know anything about him, but looking at his, you do what you want with the king jack there. It would have been fine to raise, I think. Looking at his stat progression, so he's folding about half the time on the flop, and then almost never on the turn. and
then
then
a
way
lot
more
on
than
the
half the
river.
time on the river.
Yeah.
So he may
I
well
mean,
be a good candidate, and his 1-1 soft flop is low, so he may be a good candidate to be firing,
multiple barrels off.
triple barrels or at least river bets into.
Yeah. I found typically that he's the spots I have gotten to fold have been in triple when I've been triple barreling. So he may be just the type to call twice with like middle pair or bottom pair. And then if we check the river, he gets to showdown cheap. And if we bet the river, he's probably just getting to the river with a weakish range of hands and isn't
Yeah,
expecting too many people to triple
probably.
barrel.
Because he's playing 18-14, but 3-betting 6%, so he's probably 3-betting top of his range.
Hmm.
So when he just calls, he's going to have a lot of middle strength hands, medium pairs.
This is relatively close with sevens, I think, because although obviously we want to be playing the hand, this guy is free betting a decent-ish chunk. I still think it's a call, but it's
Yeah, I mean,
slightly closer.
it's not high enough that I want to fold it because or 3-bet it because we're going to get squeezed too much by that guy. Also, he
Hmm.
looks like he's going to be potentially a weaker player because he's not rebuying and his stats are pretty awkward.
Hmm.
So I think the EV of playing him multi-way is going to be higher than the EV of just getting everyone to fold, which is what will happen because the pre-flop raiser folds to 80% of 3-bets.
Hmm.
So what you could do is just 3-bet most of your junk here.
Yeah, like queen nine offs and
Yeah, or even worse.
6-7, well, 6-7 suited stuff like that.
Or even worse, yeah, just specifically in this spot. When with all of those range of hands that are unplayable, you don't want to be calling.
Mhm. This 9-8 suited here, I'm probably just going to um, not give up. I think I can check call once, depending on what happens here. But I don't think betting, like this is a board where again it hits a lot of people's range and not going to fold. Given this, I could raise now though.
You could do, yeah. I mean, I think
We can just call though. We've got plenty of equity just to call with.
you probably should raise once they min bet there.
Hmm.
Only that if we don't improve on the turn, it's going to now become very difficult to win the pot when we have much less fold equity. Plus, we have worthless showdown value,
Hmm.
whether we hit a
Very
pair or
true.
not. So at this point we're just heading towards losing to 10-7.
And you wouldn't be tempted to now raise.
No, because I think
We can just fold,
I
and
think
he's
they'll
not
just
going to
call
fold
every
it.
single 10 they have.
So we can just fold.
Yeah, they'll just confusion call too many hands there. Probably both of them.
Quite possibly, yeah. Aces on this board, he doesn't fold that often, even though it's not a board we're really connected. The fact that he's probably going to call with a lot of random trash.
Yeah, and I mean it's a board we would bluff
On
basically our
exactly.
entire range into.
Hmm. Although possibly not against this guy. But
Possibly
even
not
still-
against someone who falls to 14% of C bets. No, but in general we would. So it's not like we have to balance out our theoretical check give ups by
Mhm.
not betting some combos of good hands.
This is going to be a shame when he folds, but
Yeah, I mean you could even just not 3-bet.
I was
this.
debating calling, but and now this is like gin card, I think.
Yeah, I think putting him all in is by far and away the best option.
Mhm.
He will never fold a 10.
He'll never
Or probably
fold
not fold
quads.
quads either.
It's King 10 suited. I'm happy to call or free bet. Given he's folding a decent amount, he's not four betting that often as well, which
Yeah.
is helpful.
I mean, I would lean
So-
towards 3-betting.
Yeah.
He's quite tight pre-flop, so it's not like we can call floppy king and then get tons of value from his range. He did call you very quickly there, which I would actually I would use that to
some
inform
sort
my
of-
decision.
yeah. And given that, would you now check on this board? Or this is a board which I would normally bet.
Well, I
on the
would
top
check. I
pair.
would check this board either way. I think with most of my range, because
Okay.
typically this is a pretty good board for most people. It's,
That queen 10 could have been a free bet, possibly should have been. It's ace 10 suited. I'm happy to call with just because of how crazy he's playing. I don't really want to get four bet again with it.
Okay.
And now with this, I'm happy to go ahead and bet
I
because
would
we've
bet,
made it
yeah.
straight. Yeah.
I mean, at this point you want to get value from his sets and two pairs.
Mhm.
Any like one card heart combos he has that he wants to continue with. I probably would have 3-bet the ace-10. I mean, the guy's not a 4-bet yet. He's folding to 100%
Hmm.
3-bets. I'm assuming the big blind's going to be probably maybe a reg. We don't know anything about him. As played, we should, fold. When I said that the guy instantly called the 3-bet,
Hmm.
the reason we want to make a note of that is because it means that he's almost certainly not slow playing something decent.
Okay.
So unless he has, a perfectly executed plan of this is the time when I'm going to smoothly call my aces and kings and queens 30% of the time instantly,
Hmm.
we can assume it means that he just has, suit connector, medium pair,
Low pocket pair, yeah.
and he's going to play fit or fold.
Makes sense.
He didn't even. He never even. He didn't even. He also doesn't have much a sort of junky range. He won't show up with this is the one time that he shows up with 6-3 suited or something, because he didn't even consider folding, and he didn't
Hmm.
even consider 4-bet bluffing.
No, so he just has all that medium strength range
Yeah.
all of the time.
Which is why we don't want to instantly take our actions, even if we know what we're doing with our range.
Hmm. This Queen Jack is relatively close because we've got a fish in the blinds.
I would say it's not an open.
Okay.
The fish there in the blinds is. I mean, he's got his bean pip under 30. You're not gonna earn much money
Hmm.
extra widening your range just to target him when you've got a fish in position who never folds to c-bets. You've got an aggressive big blind, and then just a reg on the button.
Hmm. Okay.
Then the suited ace the other that you had, I would have played the same on table 5.
Would you ever check there with nut flush draw?
Probably not in that exact spot, but I mean checking the nut flush draw is something we want to do sometimes.
Hmm. Freeze here. I'm going to free bets because although this guy does look fishy, he does look more on the aggressive side of fishy. So him folding is actually not going to be too bad for us, and the regs folding a decent chunk.
Batty 0007.
Yes.
Yeah,
Free,
what I
well,
would, what I
not
would
crazy
say,
aggressive. But.
I mean the 6-9, you should probably not do that. Yeah. What I would say about that is looking at his stats: 49-13, 8% squeeze, yes, but a 1 aggression factor.
Hmm.
That strikes me as someone who's doing a lot of min 3-betting and things like that.
Okay. So would you still play that hand the same, or would you call to then?
I would probably call because I want to get Batty in the pot.
Okay. The 6-9 now. I'm tempted now just to check because so many draw. Well, 10 Jack got there. Um,
This is not really. This is not inducing us to want to bet the turn. No. That's pretty interesting, river. The fact that we have a 6 doesn't really help us when that 7 rolls off on the turn, because a bunch of draws that maybe we want him to have, he doesn't have as much when we're holding the
Mhm.
6.
And that's just the fold.
Yeah, it's reasonably close.
I don't think the fact that he min bet and now comes out bigger on this
Oh
river.
no, I agree with you. It's reasonably close, but it's not a call I want to make. He's probably going to show up there with too many. The times he doesn't have a straight, he's going to show up with a few too many 2-pair combos. If we want to look at it empirically, anecdotally, it's a spot where they just show up with a lot of aces up
Hmm.
because they don't call the flop with ace 8, ace 9.
Etc. Yeah. This deuce jack I could turn into a bluff on this board because he limped, and we do have the gut shot as well.
You could. I don't know that I would put too much stock in the fact that he limped, meaning we have tons of fold equity, because he's playing 37-6.
Oh
So
yeah,
he's probably
that's
just
true.
limping a bunch of reasonably, probably most aces that aren't broadways,
Hmm.
plus most kings that aren't broadways, etc. And then he comes out on pots exactly. So I would not bother doing that unless I had perhaps had more backdoor, like some clubs, or
Hmm.
maybe just a bit of a better.
This 8, I'm happy to check, just given the fact that you
Yeah,
know.
I mean you can't really. This is a board we would check a lot anyway in terms of a balanced
Hmm.
strategy. And then in terms of an exploitable strategy, you can't go far wrong checking back second pair against a weaker player. And now we want to obviously not fold and not raise. Uh-oh.
Oh, it's going to be quite easy to play though, because he's going to make it very obvious
Because
what
he's
he
going to
has.
win bet.
But I don't think I'm actually good here though.
No, but I don't think you can push him off his, whatever, like
No.
nine
Can we
six.
call just to see what he
Of
has?
course, yeah. Oh yeah. Folding here would be a mistake given the size of the pot.
Okay.
But no, he won't be folding that.
This ace nine, the fact that I have the backdoor flush draw, even though I mean this guy isn't. Oh, he's actually looks relatively aggressive. I'm not too keen about check raising, but check calling might not be too bad.
Sure. Okay. The turn will be relatively interesting. Do you view that as pretty good for your float or not?
Um, Hang on, let me get rid of this. This ace queen. I think that's actually quite close with ace queen as well, given the sizing he's made it.
He has
I
made
would say
that
this.
very large, and also I would factor in his 3-bet percent plus
Yeah,
your
it's only
position.
4.3. I think I might actually fold this,
Yeah,
make a nitty fold.
I wouldn't even regard that as a nitty fold. I mean, if you want to play your ace nine, we can revisit the ace queen in a second.
Mhm. So the ace nine here, I mean, I think I can probably call down and probably good a decent chunk of the time. He can have some flush
If
draws.
you're
I
actually
don't
floating the flop, you don't want to be folding that turn.
No. And then this river as well. I mean, he does unless he actually has a 10, which is, completely possible.
Yeah, it's also possible he's got pocket jacks.
9, 10. Okay.
So he missed a little bit of value potentially there, especially when he's not holding a spade.
hmm
But I think your line is completely fine. Check raising the flop would have been okay too. And the ace queen, yeah, I mean when someone like okay, it's got up to 5 now, but 4 to 5, 3-bet percent is 3-betting your mid position open
hmm
from the small blind and then making it huge.
It's
That should
probably
be
quite strong.
should be setting off all sorts of red flags.
hmm
So, no, ace queen, you're just going to burn money calling that there against that particular villain.
Would you call with ace queen suited?
Yeah, I would be very sad about it.
hmm
I think Jack 3 is just a bit too loose.
hmm
Even against
yeah.
he folds reasonably high amount to 3-bets, but still shouldn't be in our range. He would have to be folding, closer towards the 80% like
Yeah.
that guy who's now folding 86%. That
hmm
the Reiki folds.
He was one who just free bet me huge as well, which
Yeah.
is typically also a signal that their free bet was particularly strong.
Yep.
Because if they're folding a lot to free bets, they're expecting most people to, play a similar-ish sort of strategy.
Yep.
I tend to find that so. If he's folding a lot, he's probably thinking, well,
I do think isolating the ace 5 off there is fine on the button.
hmm
I would just be a little bit more cautious than usual, given that he's playing 24-9, which is reasonably tight, for your quote unquote fish.
hmm
And he's in mid
This
position, so
this is actually quite close between a C bet and a check.
I agree.
Purely because, I mean, obviously he folds a lot to C bets, which is good for us. But it's a board that kind of hits his limp calling range.
Well, he's in most people's limp calling range if they have one.
So therefore, I'm actually just going to check on this occasion. I think that on the turn he's going to play pretty. Yeah. See, when he checks here, I'm now happy to bet.
Sure, I agree with you. As long as we're going to bet twice, depending on what the river is.
Yeah.
I would reverse it and say that if you had ace of diamonds, 5 or
I
whatever,
would just c-bet the
we
flop.
could see bet
Yeah.
because you can bluff more runouts, and I would do exactly the same. I like that line.
This ace jack's quite interesting.
Yeah, his stack size is making it pretty awkward.
I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy actually. Well, I could
Are
just
you?
call because everyone's going to call behind. I think a lot of the time,
Um,
but it is still.
I'd be fine calling.
It's a really nice table down the bottom. I've just
I would
realized.
certainly say that if you had a bit more money, you could potentially do something else.
hmm
But you don't have a without more information, you don't want to get that in pre-flop against the $6 stack.
No.
I would assume, perhaps wrongly, that I think a lot of 25 and L regs would just want to get that in.
Ace queen. I'd be happy to get in there, I think.
Yes, but you didn't have ace queen.
Exactly. So ace jack is then quite close. This 6-5, I'm happy to call once, given that how much equity we probably
Yeah,
have.
also, I mean, Marley Bob's going to have to turn his range fairly face up on the turn, given that it's just,
Hmm.
he's basically heads up against you now. You should be pretty concerned if he raises now.
Of course. Mm,
I mean, you can't fold,
no.
but you're not ahead very often. Yeah, we obviously can't fold 6-8. And I would call 10-8 as well, just like you did. He's full betting, you know, at least not a small amount at the time.
Hmm.
We can play well in position.
Especially on this kind of board. Are you calling or raising here? I guess calling's probably better.
It's way better.
Yeah.
Raising was just kind of ditching the value of your hand and turning it into a bluff, whereas if you really wanted to just ditch all the value of your hand and turn it into a bluff, you could do it with a hand that had no value in the first place.
Hmm.
I mean, I think that's kind of close with the 6-8. I'm fine with folding, given that the flush backdoored in. Plus, he has a lot of combos, just like the bluff, like Jack 10 and stuff. But I think if spades as well missed the river, I would have to consider bluff catching there.
And we're gonna just check down the.
I would like to know. I mean, probably we don't have time to check, unfortunately. But I would like to know what his turn check raise is, because I would strongly consider betting that turn.
The only thing I feel he's gonna check here with a lot of Jack X to check call.
I agree, although I don't think he bets much Jack X given on the flop, given that his
true.
C bets 46%. So the only real. Ooh, I mean, you can call if you like, but I very much doubt you're ahead.
Well, I mean,
at this point, I'm assuming he has quads or like pocket kings.
That's cool.
I mean, if you just think about the way he plays his line, he can't bet the flop with much that isn't like a killer draw, a made hand already, better than one pair, or that's it. Because his flop C bet is 46%, plus he's probably a good enough reg to realise that texture is really bad for him.
Yeah, that's
so he bets
true.
the flop with that strong range, and then he checks the paired turn. So what part of his range that we just said would bet the flop doesn't like the paired turn? It's perhaps, flopped flushes and straights, maybe, although that probably continues anyway. So mostly it's just like, aces and kings.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I don't think he ever shows up there with, king jack.
This is really annoying with this guy calling.
I think you can bet.
Yeah.
But yes, it is very annoying because he won't fold very often.
Well, it's more the fact that like he limp called and he limped and then called this. So, and now unfortunately we just have to pretty much give up. I think.
Do. But you could shove here, not shove, but yeah, you could shove. You could shove here with any turn diamond, any turn Broadway.
When he checks here, are you tempted to now?
Absolutely not, because I think he will snap call you with like ace 9 plus. Anything better.
Queens.
Yeah, especially that.
Okay.
And this is like almost the same as the time you had 8-6 in terms of the value of your showdown value. So we're going to fold again with ace 10.
Yeah, and he check called on the flop as well, which strengthens his range. This ace 8, I'm happy just to free bet against Hansel. Calling would be fine as well, but considering how often he folds...
I think I would 3-bet more given how tight he is and call more against a looser opponent. It's not like we want to flop an ace against someone playing 19-15 and then never fold. But instead what we can do, given that he folds to a high amount of 3-bets, is use the ace as a blocker and turn it into a bluff, semi-bluff.
The Jack King here, I'm just going to go for value on every street.
We're going to try and get him all in on the river, I think. So we'd size a bit differently there, just to target his stack in that specific situation.
Would you go smaller or bigger?
Larger. So okay. The flop size I'd do the same, and then I'd bet, pot size on the turn and go all in on the river. Assuming the board didn't turn incredibly bad for us, which it could do, but unlikely.
The Jack 9 here. after he's bet so small. My only concern is how many people are behind.
I don't want to raise.
No.
If you raise Rusty Bullet with his 11% fold to c-bet, it's going to call any pair anyway.
Yeah.
But if you call and improve, he's still not going to fold that same range. So the implied odds of calling are much better.
Yeah. This ace queen, you calling or free betting?
Against
given
this
how
specific opponent, I'm calling.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
If we had, a queen 6, we could 3-bet this specific opponent. He's folding to 88% of 3-bets. So we don't want to 3-bet much of our value range at all.
No. And then we can call here for sure.
Of course we can, yeah. I mean, he's actually c-betting quite a high amount. This is a turn he's going to define his range on, so that's great for us.
Mm-hmm.
That means we have to fold to a bet, so that's not great for us, but, we're not going to make much of a mistake there.
No. He might actually force us to make a mistake if he checks the turn to then call the river whenever the flush misses.
That would be a much better line.
But I don't think he's thinking that. I think he's thinking, I don't want him to get there with his flush draw. Which is...
It's certainly possible. He could also just be value betting something, and he will,
Yeah, value betting so I don't hit my flush. Which is a completely plausible, absolutely fine strategy.
Maybe.
This is not a great board for us, I don't think.
No, although I kind of did want to bet against someone who playing, his aggression factor is 0.8. So even if you do check, he's not going to wake up with any bluffs.
Well, I wasn't anticipating him to bluff. I was anticipating more that he's not going to have had many cards here. Like, if he has a jack, we're getting it in, I think, here. This ace-5...
It's going to be difficult to get it in against a jack now.
Maybe, yes. This ace-5...
Call. Just, don't want you to run out of time. And check decide the turn.
Check decide the turn? After boating up? Oh, yeah.
You've straighted up.
Sorry, straighted up.
Well, check decide, not as in check fold, but check decide.
I was going to say
check decide whether we want to call or check decide whether we want to raise.
And I could raise quite small, and I don't think he's folding.
You have to. I wouldn't even raise small. Okay, so that was only ever going to end that way, no matter what. No matter what happened.
It was a bit unfortunate for him, but.
You probably want to raise your raise 10 before you time out, just to get Troublemaker's extra 60 cents, and then obviously go for the the double check raise.
Do you think on the river he wouldn't go for a bet?
No. I mean, he's going to fold an 8 if he has one. If you go all in, but he'll bet all of his 6x and his hearts. His bet river percent is 53. His one
although
is 49.
His aggression factor isn't too high.
No, but on the river when he's missed, that's when he's betting.
Okay.
And also he's folded to our river jam before, so we know he can actually fold in that spot.
This ace 10, I'm happy to fold against this guy.
Oh yeah, easy fold.
I think I'd fold actually against most.
His aggression factor is 2. So yeah, we'd fold most people there. I mean, unless it was such a dynamic that you could fold their bluff, but that's rare.
And I think in these positions as well, 4-bet bluffing doesn't work very well, because if he's in the small blind and he's just 3-bet an early position open, then he's probably quite strong.
Yep.
If he opens, I'm calling here. Typically, ace-4 off begins to fall more into my free betting range, but considering he doesn't fold often to free bets, doesn't fold too much on the flop.
If anyone or yourself wants to do a bit of homework about that hand where you had a straight, just on the river, we're going to assume that he can bet his bluffs as well as his value bets. If you assume, if we assume that he can't bet his bluffs, obviously you should bet. But we're not assuming that, given his stats and how he's playing. In which case, all you need to do is go and count how many combos he can have of sets and top pair plus. And then go and see how many combos he can have of missed gut shots and missed open-enders and missed turned hearts.
Yeah, I definitely I'm fine with that. It was more I was leaning towards the fact that.
But I mean, I'm just saying, for some people it can be surprising. How many missed combos he can have there.
It was very surprising. I think for me one of the biggest surprises I've ever had, well, in recent times anyway, was the first time I began to look into how many flush draw combinations someone's likely to have on the flush on the 2-tone boards. The number of people who are ultra protective against draws, and you get down to it, and in like a button versus big blind sort of situation, you realize that they have so many more combos of second pair and third pair hands than they do of flush draws. But yeah, this is close with queens.
I don't think it's even close, given who villain is.
Just call, yeah.
We can't 3-bet him.
Yeah.
He'll fold. So 3-bet him if you had queen 10 off.
I used to have this as my default strategy to actually. Oh, this is. I think I might call here.
Well, this is the time I do want to get it in against the short stack, and we do want to get rid of the reg, who will fold.
So you make it like 350.
Yeah, I would certainly consider like undercalling there. Obviously, call queens. If I knew that the big blind with $11 was like pretty aggressive, because he's going to get in a wider range because of his stack size, but we don't know anything about him at all.
I'm thinking call queens on the turn and then
absolutely call queens
fold to a river bet. And now we're going to have to call, and it's going to turn with ace king. That's going to be horrible, or aces.
Okay, I mean, it's hard for him to have aces or ace king given blockers, but his stack depth makes it pretty irrelevant either way.
Queens here, I could bet like $2, but
no, don't do it.
10 queen.
You could potentially do that if he was cut off. Against his under the gun range is probably not advisable. And I think basically you earn the max there, given he would have just snap folded to your 3-bet.
Yeah, that's true. This ace 10 is interesting. Whether I should 3-bet.
Yeah, I think 3-bet.
I'm making every hand sound really interesting.
You don't want to just invite Hansel to come in there and overcall with a wider range, and also just the button's unknown, so we don't know if we can call and play well post flop against his range or not, or against how he's playing.
Yeah, it should very clearly be another
So he thought about that for a while before folding. That doesn't mean much, but I would at least make a mental note that he's not just on autopilot, unless he had a decision on another table. But we can't rule out that he's not on autopilot because he didn't insta-fold. So that's a little bit of information we have. And if he had insta-folded, then we would just keep 3-betting him loads until he didn't keep doing that.
If we were in different positions, I would use this as my 3-bet bluff. Given the players behind, I'm not even loving a call. So folding, yeah.
3-betting here will be okay. The main thing discouraging me is you're going to get overcalled by this fishy button quite a high amount.
Yeah.
Talking back about counter combos again briefly, that's river spots like the one we talked about are good for practicing counting combos and whatever. What I don't like it's an easy trap you can fall into. You kind of get a bit addicted to counting combos in every single spot, and then using it as a kind of scapegoat or excuse for making certain decisions. Just a lot of students, for example, I have, are always talking to me about counting combos in certain spots when it's almost irrelevant. So don't get too hung up on it, because you can't solve everything by counting combos.
Oh no! I mean
and I know you're aware of this.
Yeah.
But it's just good to highlight these things for everyone's benefit.
This ace 10, I'm thinking of betting again, because I think he's going to call now with an ace, but he's not going to call the river if there's another scare card. And if he begins playing aggressively, then it's pretty clear what he has anyway. I would check call, so I'm not going to lose any more by... See, now, for example, I can now check, and he's going to check behind all leaves ace X, and he's going to...
He's probably even going to check behind better ace X.
Yeah.
So I like your line. He also looks, although from the small sample, but from the small sample he looks like he's playing, passive.
Exactly.
So checking to him is really just going to like free roll everyone to the river. So unless that's what you want to achieve, which we didn't really.
No, it's a spot. I think you made the point maybe a few sessions ago, where it's simply a case of if we simply a case of oh, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Simply a case of, so with scare cards, he's going to begin to... This I shouldn't have bet, actually, this ace nut. Oh, I don't hate it. It's okay. So if there's scare cards that can come on the turn or the river, like that's when we should be fast playing, because if he's a fish and he's going to call us with like second pair, so if the board say ace 10 4, he's going to call us on the flop with a 10, but if the turn's a king, he's not going to call with a 10. And I think that applied well there. If he has any flush draw, he's calling, and ace, he's calling. But if if he has an ace and he checks the turn, and then the rivers are diamonds, we don't get any value from it. So
that's true. Yeah.
And the other side, of course, whereby we would check call the turn anyway. So us betting and him calling with a wider range than he would bet with is probably better.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
It does.
I really don't know what to make of this dumb 2013 May guy. Because like 23-18, 5% free bet. He looks like from that position quite reggy, and then his fold on the flop is 85. His fold to free bet is insane.
19,
I think he was the one who made that crazy sized free bet.
He is.
Yeah, when I was early position and from small blind. So,
well, I mean, he's just someone who's obviously got pretty good pre-flop ranges worked out,
and
then his post-flop
doesn't know what to do
a
with
little
them.
bit unsure post-flop, which is a phase everyone's going to go through. He's in that
The ace eight
phase.
here. Yeah, the ace eight here opening purely because these two guys are fishy.
Yeah, it's close, but I mean, the button's not too loose,
No.
which will be the thing in our way.
Assuming that this dumb 2013 main guy is in that stage still. He's been in that stage for quite a while.
Okay.
Assuming
well,
that
it can happen.
assuming that he's signed up in May 2013. Deuces I'm actually going to fold. I don't think I make enough money with twos here.
No, it's perhaps close with the small blind, but he's actually not playing that loose.
Against two players, I think I would normally bet here.
Yep.
Because they've got some good
Yeah.
barrel cards and they block. Like,
Also, I mean, if the whole point of the hand was to get these two guys in the pot,
we might as well take advantage of
when
that.
it's not like this is a board which smashes them and we have no chance of winning.
Mhm.
So yeah, by all means, give up when that's Jack 10-9 or whatever.
This is. I could call here because this guy's being quite splashy.
I think we don't really want to just isolate ourselves against
Aces,
his
kings,
under the gun
queens.
range. If he starts playing back at us, that's pretty bad.
I mean, I don't think I can ever call it bad to get kings in, but yeah, against his under the gun 4-bet range when he's folding 3 bets a decent chunk and he's nitty.
Calling here against this table, then
yeah,
probably we are. If everyone at the table is 4 copies of Hansel, we probably want to just 3-bet.
God, that would not be a fun table, would it?
Well, I mean, you'd win a lot without showdown.
Yeah, that is true. Wouldn't be very fun though. It'd just be bet.
This is much more of a squeeze.
Yes, even though this guy's short, yeah, because we just get
especially. That's making our life easier. And the kings is basically going to play itself because we can't raise. We could raise this flop, but we can't really raise it with kings.
No.
If he bets this turn, that would be very bad for you.
Yeah, I'm thinking call because he can still have queens, tens, jacks.
Okay, I probably wouldn't call, but we can investigate that line. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I would assume he wouldn't bet that with queens. But people do weird things all the time. I'm a little bit concerned. Yeah, obviously we shouldn't bet the river. I'm a little bit concerned about FRB. He had the flush draw.
Yeah, it makes sense. Oh, why would he not triple barrel there? I mean, this 6-5 suited. I'm gonna bet now though. Once he's checked, I think I can double barrel and get him to fold a lot.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, it's so sick.
How come you didn't? Because you're the big blind. Never
yes. Are you check calling or check? I guess betting
we're not
here
check
is
raising
pretty strong, so we can just check.
Also,
call.
what can we have to check raise? We can have crappy flush draws plus 2
3s and 8s. Yeah, it's not great, and it's like this turn is just the nut worst.
Well, he won't.
Yeah, so
he won't bluff this turn.
Well,
so,
yeah.
I mean, he won't airball it. He may, bet hearts or diamonds, but he won't just show up there with Jack 10 of clubs.
Against FRB here, is it better just to call, get these two guys in?
Yes, I would definitely agree.
That's a spot where we can begin
I think the
to.
reason he didn't bluff the river with his ace king spades is because he's just mostly worried there that you would just have something like pocket eights.
Or pocket kings, and I think
Yeah, but he could have made
on
you
the
fold kings.
yeah. Well, I don't think he would think that.
Okay.
I think from our point of view, for sure, we should be folding. I might raise this.
Anyway, he should offer. I mean, if we want to, yeah, you can. If you want to revisit the whole strategy of that, he should be checking the flop against your mid position.
Oh yeah,
range.
for 100%. It's
If you just want to reverse engineer the hand as to actually what should have happened for him.
If he has ace king of diamonds, he should be checking. So why would you begin betting that?
And I don't think you can do much against.
Just fold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I think a lot of people do. They have the ace king and they think, "Well, I'm gonna bet because I have two overcards and a flush draw." And it's like, yeah, but like, you begin to, I guess, like given.
Well, it's not a spot that you would bet with ace king of hearts. So you run into a bit of problems when you're just betting one specific combo. Oh, it's the one that has a flush draw.
And I guess you end up in the spot where you're checking range.
If we also see that his flop c-bet is 56, what we can probably safely assume when he bets that flop is that his range is over pairs, sets, and flush draws, and that's it. That's problematic because it's actually not enough hands if you want to bet the flop. So the way you solve it is not by adding more hands, it's by checking more hands.
This king 10, are we calling?
No.
And the ace 10 after free betting, we're just going to give up now because we don't really have too much?
You should bet.
Okay.
You should fold to a raise. I would say you get raised here about a quarter of the time, but when you don't get raised, you win about half the time.
And when he snaps, we can... This is not a very good time for us either.
No, I don't love the fact that you have a 10, because you're blocking Jack 10.
Blocking 10, yes.
You're also blocking 10-9, but also now there's less combos of 10-9 because the 9 came. So yeah, you can check here. I would like to just bet off some boards. This is just getting worse for us though.
This is a spot I like to triple barrel in.
Excuse
largely
me.
because,
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Largely because like we have top pair, top kicker, top pair, strong kicker. This is actually not a great time for us, but I'm still happy to continue.
Sure. I wouldn't necessarily bet the river if called again on this run out. But if the turn was a brick, more of a brick than this, I mean this is a brick, but if the turn was a better card, we could triple barrel. Triple barreling this run out might be bad, especially when you combine it with the fact that in 1200 hands he's never folded to a river c-bet.
No, that's a different stat. That's donk. So it's 26% he's folded on the river.
Oh.
Come on, Tim. This is your hard.
No, I'm right then. If it's 56-0.
No, 61, 43.
That's his flop c-bet.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
My bad.
You've been using the HUD wrong the whole time.
No, I haven't. It's I was thinking about sevens here. Is this a call against this guy?
Yeah.
10 to 1 new stack.
He's got enough money. You should call most pairs there.
It's a spot loads of people get mistaken. It's like, oh, you know, we have to. He's put out 250 and he's only got 15 behind. I'm like, yeah, but you only have to call 150 of that or whatever. So it makes no sense to use that as your maths.
Yeah, you might be able to call there if you had the 7 of clubs, but it'd be very close either way.
Yes, I think he's the type that I'd imagine. Well, he's not too aggressive.
We don't really know
so
that yet.
No.
It's 10 hands.
Oh yes, true.
I mean, aggression factor I wouldn't rely on too much unless you have a lot of hands and their opponent's a fish. Because the fish will be defined by their aggression factor in a lot of things, but if someone's playing well as a reg, they won't be defined by their aggression factor. For example, you could be a good winning reg with a very high aggression factor and a good winning reg with very low aggression factor, because you're just going to be doing correctly things in a different strategy.
Exactly.
Whereas when you have a fish with a very low aggression factor, all that means is they're passive up until the river, at which point they might bluff their draws or they might not. You just have to look at their bet river percent.
Is king deuce suited? Are we playing this against this guy?
Yes, we're not folding it. I don't think it's good enough to 3-bet against him. And obviously, you know, this is going to play itself.
We're just not folding. Pairs look swings.
Yeah. There's no point in raising.
No.
There's no point obviously folding.
I was thinking about it.
We're just gonna let our equity allow us to not fold.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a lot better to raise the flop with king 4 than king deuce of hearts.
I might check raise this because he's not calling with anything.
No, he's not, because he doesn't have a king.
But he might bluff it. It's ace 9. I'm gonna check because it's so many weight. That's annoying.
Well, he wasn't gonna call you, I don't think.
No. Oh no. I wonder.
It'd be better if he had queen 6 and he would have bluffed the river.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
I think I might
treat that as a check.
Yeah. It's ace 9.
I think this is quite an easy decision.
Cool.
No.
Go all in.
Go on then. I mean, I'm just going to assume that if the guy playing 53-6 has been raising the turn, I mean, he's going to have to prove to me he doesn't have the nuts. The nuts being, Jack 7 plus.
Oh, this is getting really interesting. Oh, okay. He didn't have the nuts.
Okay. Someone does, though.
Well, he can have just like Jack 9 and I reckon he's going to have A7. Snap it off with an ace. Okay. This ace Jack. I'm kind of happy just to call here, given that Hansel isn't going to squeeze us. Although he can be folding quite a chunk.
Yeah, you should 3-bet.
Also, this works pretty well as a bluff.
It does.
Obviously, that's what we're doing. Whereas an ace queen off there is just slightly more annoying. It's a good spot to squeeze, given this guy folds a lot. And I want to be heads up with this fish. Queen Jack. I'm going to 3-bet as well because it's against this guy who folds every time. This 10 queen is quite close between 3-bet and folding. I'm going to fold just because I'm not too sure whether he has a sizing tell or not. I don't think he does.
I think that's from what I've seen. I think that's what he uses all the time.
Okay.
Which would actually make me want to 3-bet a bit more often.
Yeah, for sure. And all of our 3-bets worked, which was nice. This 6-8 suited against Godlike, I'm happy to 3-bet, even though I've just 3-bet before. Calling wouldn't be awful either, considering Hansel doesn't squeeze.
Yeah, you could call here.
Would you prefer to call or 3-bet?
I'd normally 3-bet. This is a bit too loose to be calling in normal circumstance. But if we can assume the big blind is tighter than most, you can just treat yourself as the big blind. You can't do anything. Even if you had one heart, we could consider doing something here, either floating or raising. But we don't. I wouldn't read much into his check at all.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't check too much. He doesn't check.
He doesn't bet too much.
He doesn't bet. Yeah,
so he's the sort of person who's actually is gonna check here with all of his tens and also stuff like ace queen, ace king even. So you probably have the best hand a lot of the time right now.
I don't expect him to be bluffing on the river too much. He might go for thin value with a 10 here though. He might bet like 70 cents.
Yes, although I'm assuming he would bet most tens on the turn after you've checked twice. So you probably do have to bet, to call, sorry. But that's okay, you're not going to win that often. Okay, he probably bets his better tens on the turn then.
I'm not sure if he does, not on that turn, a deuce. Although it's probably is quite irrelevant, I think. The sixes I'm going to check and bet if I had the ace of clubs. I don't hate betting.
Six of clubs, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, six of clubs.
That's fine.
Depending on what he does now, I might bet the turn. I think I have to call here.
I think you do against this particular guy, yeah.
This is going to be an interesting river.
It's not that interesting when he pots it, because...
No, we're just cool.
Yeah, we're calling and just not very happily calling either. Yeah. Anyway, I think we can play out your orbits and that'll be a good session.
Sounds like a plan. With the 6 there, would you ever be tempted to? Actually, I'm just going to mark him that he can bluff. Um, would you ever be tempted to just mim raise and then see what he does?
No.
This could have been a free bet, the fives, but given positions, I think it works fine.
Yeah, I'm also going to assume that his 100% fold to 3-bet is just going to be artificial. Because he's playing 60-40.
Yeah. Queens here is quite interesting against Hansel.
It's a call against Hansel because
Mhm.
if you get 4-bet here,
We're not in love.
You're never ahead, ever.
Fives.
You can call.
Mhm.
I mean, his flop C bet is 78, but his turn's 33. We have to assume he's just going to bet, his queen jack and give up a lot. But normally I wouldn't want to call there against a tag, for example. You also probably have more implied odds to improve against him than anyone else.
Mhm. These fives here, are you betting?
Yes. I'm not going to go for a check raise, so we don't have to check in a certain percent of the time, even if we're not raising.
Mhm. It's interesting that Hansel just went for one stab there. Because he had the ace of diamonds, so that's fine. He didn't bet the turn possibly because I think it paired the board.
Yeah, he also just probably wanted you to fold the flop.
And then we didn't, and he got really sad, and we said, well, that happens sometimes, bro. This Jack King, the fact that he limped, like he can have some ace-x combos for sure, but he can also just have some trash.
Yeah. You can bet. It's not a particularly great board.
No. But I think he is just...
And obviously this guy's turning... You have to bet that turn. He's turning out to be a bit of a fish. We thought he might be a reg. He's not going to be one. You can't bluff the river. Oh, okay. Well, even if he called you, you can't bluff the river. This is just designed to make him fold. Showdown value that's worse than a 10.
Mm-hmm.
So if he did get to the river, that would be incredibly bad for you because the only hands he'd be ahead of would be a range of diamond draws, which isn't much compared to.
And he may well just bet those as well, which, well, he should bet those.
It doesn't matter if he's betting them or not. I mean, we're behind his range at that point.
We're gonna lose, yeah. Eights betting.
Yep.
I think I would bet here with any 8-8 combo. I'm happy if he folds 2 overcards because it would probably be an incorrect fold, given the fact that a lot of overcards he could begin representing, and we wouldn't be able to do much. Not that he's going to do that necessarily, but he could do, and if he had that as a strategy, we wouldn't do very well against it.
I mean, having 8s with the heart there, it should be a bet. It's debatable as to whether you want to bet when you have 8s without a heart. Against that particular player, it's probably fine. But it's a board we wouldn't bet very often against our nemesis, for example. All right, that was interesting. Thank you for that.